Hi, this is Rebecca from BrainBox AI's marketing team. And in today's podcast, we are joined by Chris Cianci from our product team. And we are going to talk about our new dashboard that has been made specifically for retailers and multi-site building portfolios, and includes a slew of features, including building management tools, asset management tools, set point management, scheduling, and much more. So I hope you enjoy this podcast and learn a bit more about what BrainBox has to offer. Hey, Chris. Nice to have you again.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about something different.
Yes.
Still on the energy saving side of things, still on the, I guess, emissions by default as well. We're talking about our new dashboard, which we've made for retailers.
Yeah.
And not just for retailers, just like generally organizations that have multi-site multiple buildings in their portfolios. Yeah. So this is a new one for BrainBox. I think we haven't officially launched it yet, have we? Not yet. Okay, so it's brand spanking new. So I guess my first question is, let's just start really high level. Why are we here today? Why is this special? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So our vision that we had in mind for this dashboard was really to be able to provide, again, metrics for our users and usability for our users that really covers, again, large portfolio of buildings. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you have an organization that has 1,000 buildings, well, you want to be able to track down what's happening in, along 1,000 buildings. And that takes a lot of effort, right? So we've had this vision to be able to create something that was simple, that can provide metrics, data, really simply and easily for these larger portfolios to give people insights, be able to track down information where they can really target a specific building. Oh, there's a problem happening in this part of the country and this subset of buildings. Well, You'll be able to see this very visually and quickly, and really, again, action, I think is the right word. Your buildings and all that. So
I think we're taught, like you're mentioning thousands of buildings, but you could have like 12 buildings, and this is still applied to you,
absolutely,
right? Okay.
Absolutely. Just knowing that you can get that range of 10 building portfolio versus
you're small or huge,
right?
This works for you.
Absolutely. If
you want visibility, something centralized. Yeah. Okay, so I think everyone's probably thinking, okay, what exactly do you mean? So I guess a good way to start, because I've seen the dashboard. A good way to start is maybe at what we call the portfolio level. So like the higher level, let's say. I'm a retail organization and I have 586 buildings. I'm not going to want to look at every single building detail by detail. I'm going to run out of time in my day. What am I seeing at that high level?
Yeah. And there's different, I guess, personas that may want to see that really detailed level, probably, right? And so we've built that in mind in the sense that with our portfolio view, you're going to get these really high level metrics that are going to give you data around, what buildings are up, which ones are down. What's my uptime across my portfolio? What are my savings from an energy or emissions portfolio perspective? And this is really, again, a macro level view of information. But we've also thought you may be, building administrator that may want to go deep into these metrics, right? So we have the capability to actually dive deep into that data and say, well, I don't know, I've saved, say $200,000 worth of savings over the last year. Which buildings have actually been my best performers, right? And so be able to find insights. So we'll provide insights around your portfolio from a, energy perspective, emissions perspective. We built tools to calculate your energy use intensities, or EUI. So being able to really quickly identify which buildings in my portfolio are the most energy efficient, right? And that gives you information to actually decide, well, I may focus on my, sub 10% of my buildings that are really inefficient. So it gives you insight to say, I'm going to put some investment into this portion of my portfolio, right? So it's just all about trying to give qualitative data to our users and to different personas at the same time, but also being able to give, again, this high level view of information really quickly for maybe, the CEO or something along those lines, right?
So let's take that as an example. So you're a CEO, maybe what you're most interested in is how efficient am I running my HVAC or lighting operations? How much is it costing me every year? You can see that. If you're the director of sustainability and you're not so interested in energy, you want to look at emissions per building, per state, you can do that. But if you're the energy or facility person, and you are really into certain pieces of equipment, you can go all the way down to a specific state, a specific building in that state, a specific piece of equipment within that building.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's a great segue maybe into another feature I would love to talk about is basically our equipment list, what we call our asset registry. Is through our onboarding process, we do map all your equipment, right? So we know your make, your model, the serial number of your equipment, what refrigerant maybe your RTU may take, and we categorize all this information and we provide them to that user. So think of yourself as be a facilities engineer and you need some documentation for the specific make and model. We actually do provide that for you. We do that all ourselves internally here to provide them that insight. We also, so think of an example where, you as a facilities engineer, you may get a call for a hot call or a cold call, something very, very common, right? From a store associate. You can actually come into this feature and actually deep dive into your equipment to see the live data of what's actually happening for that specific store.
At that very moment.
At that very moment. Okay. Right? So you can actually quantify, well, is it actually hot in there? Is it not, right?
Somebody has an impression. Somebody needs to put a sweater on.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly, right? And so you can look at the data, and it's all, the whole point of this is to make data-driven decisions, right? And be able to see, okay, I don't want to just call a truck to come out there and fix an equipment if I don't know what the true root cause of the problem is, right? Mm-hmm. So we do provide insights and say, is the fan on? Is what stage of the heating or cooling it's on? And just give you really live data around that. That being said, we also provide something called data trending. So you can actually go back into the history of that pieces of equipment and see what actually was happening 3 hours ago, 2 days ago, a week ago. And so again, it's all about giving data to our end users to be able to figure out and diagnose and make a call with data, right? You don't want to just be, well, I don't know what's wrong. Let me go spend a couple $100 and send a technician out there. Well, you want to try to avoid that, right?
As much as insight as possible.
Exactly.
Can you give an example of, I guess, trends, right? Where you're also looking at patterns or identifying maybe if a piece of equipment is not functioning as optimally. Is that something you can do?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the common examples I give is, you can go into this tool, you can select, various different points on your system. So you can select the room temperature, you can select outside air temperature, and actually graph this on a chart and start to follow and see what happens as the day goes on. And you could then apply, let's say, the stage 1 cooling. When did that come on throughout the day? And actually, again, see this in a visual format and be able to, again, assess the information in front of you and make a call if there's an issue or not. And
And I know we've talked about a lot of things that I guess is just like information based, right? Is this platform also like action based? Is there a way that you can control that equipment if you see that there's something wrong, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we do have a feature that we're building right now called the building management feature. Okay. And so this allows users, what we're trying to do is create a kind of a one-stop shop to really manage your schedules and set points and lighting for our users. So being able to get them come in and we've typically seen schedules at like a building by building basis, but when you start looking at these portfolios that are 10, 20, 100, thousands, like you start to get this issue where there's different schedules for different buildings and you want to be able to align them all to the same maybe corporate schedule, right? And so what we're building is this, a simplified user interface that allows users to come in, make adjustments on one screen to, again, multiple buildings across a specific portfolio. And it could be, your East Coast region of buildings, or you can maybe have a group of your West Coast and you want them to, start a day later, an hour later versus an hour earlier than your other buildings, right? You can make these adjustments and it's just really en masse, right? So you can do it all, click at a button, one page, and really straightforward and simple. And so you can adjust your set points, you can adjust your schedule, you can adjust lighting, really on a simple user interface for our clients.
And it could be whole portfolio or specific building.
Down to one building if you want.
Maybe something
down to zones.
Stricter parameters or interesting. Exactly. And so scheduling, set point lighting, all of that. We also have alarming, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Exactly. And so we're building a new alarm management tool as well. That really the purpose of this, like we're trying to get away from the major issue that I think many people are familiar with is just alarm pollution, right? You set an alarm and then it just goes off and you have 10,000 alarms in an hour, and it just becomes a useless tool, right? So what we've actually taken the stance of is trying to build alarm templates. And so we're going to be able to add some logic to these templates to be able to kind of reduce the amount of, reduce the frequency of alarms, right? So let's say you have a temperature alarm that goes off every time it goes, it hits 24 degrees. Mm-hmm. Well, we want to implement some other extra,
I think the irony, for all those that are listening here, the irony of the fact that we're talking about alarms and that we are downtown Montreal, everyone, and there are about 5 cop cars that have just gone by, and I think the irony is amazing.
And it's too funny. And it's too funny.
It's distracting us.
It is very distracting.
Us a bit here, but reducing alarm pollution.
Yes. So we're trying to create these templates for users in a simplified manner where, it's going to have some built-in logic that will help reduce, but also be more accurate of alarms. So let's say you, again, had a temperature alarm that was, whenever it hit 24 degrees, you would hit an alarm. That, you can hit that inflection point many times throughout the day, right? But just adding some extra rule sets around, well, has it been like that for 30 minutes? And so we've built these kind of core templates for our users to quickly, easily add them, and it will help reduce them and be more focused alarms. And so we're really excited about this. We think it's going to be really well-received feature. Mm-hmm. And so that's coming out as well.
And we can't see it right now, but I guess maybe some visuals will be added post-production here. But really a sleek interface. I think I saw some of the equipment layouts. I think very user-friendly as well.
We're trying to be as visual as possible, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll touch on one last point. We have a map view right now, which, shows you your buildings on a map. So if you have a portfolio of buildings, it's, you see little tags of your buildings. But what we're adding on to that is multiple types of data layers to that. So I'll give you an example. Right now we're building something that shows your temperature status in your building. So you'll be able to see on the map in kind of a heat map type of format, where are my buildings that may be above my set points or below my set points. So you can kind of start to address, okay, there's a problem in these buildings in this corner of in the world. Let me dive in, and again, providing data to the user to kind of, there's an issue potentially here. Mm-hmm. But then adding more information on top of, so we're looking at different data layers that we can add on top of those maps. So one, for example, is extreme weather, right? So if you have a map view and you see in this bottom right corner in the southern U.S., let's say there's a really core set of buildings that are really struggling to keep temperature, and they're in the red. Well, you can also apply now this other data layer of extreme weather and say, well, of course, there's a major heat wave happening here, and there probably something's, and it just gives you more information. It may not be the equipment, it may not be, but these again, extra pieces of information. We're looking at adding, grid emissions intensity. Where in the world are the emissions really high? And so be able to kind of, again, get this view around your buildings, across the world, what's happening, and you can make maybe adjustments to how your buildings are performing, how they should be running. Should I run my building less in this day versus this one? It's just to be able to provide this data to the user in very visual type of format.
I think the more visual, the better, right? Yeah. It's just a quicker snapshot. You digest the information faster.
We're trying to get away from this world of just providing tables of data and then having the user try to figure what the issue is, right? We want to be able to provide insights at the end of the day. You should look here because there's a problem, instead of them having to try to figure that out by just looking at tables of data and set points and temperatures. It becomes a nightmare, right? And think if you have 1,000 buildings, it's just not possible.
Unmanageable.
It's unmanageable, right? And you put yourself in the shoes of the facilities guys. It's a nightmare, right? So be able to tell them, look here, focus on this building. That's what they want to know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're striving for.
And at BrainBox, we seem to be using single pane of glass as a term very, very often. I think it's fantastic for us to thrive towards that because it's all in the same spot. Yep. Regardless of the position you have at the organization, you will find what you need for your specific role, for your specific needs through one single pane of glass.
Across your portfolio, right? we don't want you to have to go to 3 different platforms to access different information for different buildings. It should just be one place, and that's all you need to do.
That's all
right?
you need. Yeah. Any last thoughts? Or I think we've covered a lot of the new features. We're really excited. We're really excited to get that out there. We're really excited to get market feedback, I think, as well. We've built it best practices, top of the line, UI, UX. And we look forward to having that empower some.
The best feedback
clients.
is customer feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're building it for them. Like, I'm not building it for myself.
Yeah.
And the more feedback we get, the better we can improve and keep making it better. So
cool. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks again for having me.